In 24 hours, I'm about to get on a plane to South Korea and then to Japan and have a 3-week trip that I will probably remember for the rest of my life.
So it's a good thing then that the apartment is a goddamn mess. It's noon, I got a ton of shit to do. So I bust everything out and I clean it up. I clean the kitchen, boom. I clean the bathroom, boom. I clean my bedroom, boom. And then
It's only 4. It's only 4 o'clock. I have however many hours until the flight.
20 hours, actually. Math can be hard, we get it. So now with everything out of the way, I just had to find something to pass the time. Oh, and fun fact, I decided that I was going to be staying up the entire night. It was a huge mistake, but I'll tell you about it later. I really just tried passing the time by watching movies, but it was just awful. It was bad. A few decoms later though, it's 7 a.m.
So for the next hour and a half before my Uber shows up, I'm gonna be cleaning the rest of the dishes that I have. I have some trash that I need to throw away. So let's get started on that before I find out it's too late.
Once that was all finished, I caught my Uber and went to LAX. Had a small panic attack because I forgot what you were supposed to do once you got to an airport, but then I remembered, so it's all good. I got there a little early, so I did some exploring around the international airport, but then eventually I got onto my plane for my 12.5-hour flight. Now the reason why I didn't sleep the entire night was because I wanted to sleep on this flight. It was 12.5 hours long. I wasn't gonna be staying up that entire time. Guess what I didn't do? I have to say that was one of the worst airplane rides I've ever had. It was 12 hours of hell. I tried my damnedest to go to sleep, and I think I got an hour and a half. Yeah. Could have gone better. Yeah, could have gone better was an understatement, but you know, whatever. At this point, it was about 5:30 p.m. and I finally met up with Glenn and we drove back to our place in Seoul in a district called Mapo. Once we got there, it was about, 7 p.m. We got some dinner. Here's a picture of Glenn feeding a dog. And that was basically the end of our night. We just went to bed right after that. We had to wake up really early next morning. I'll tell you why.
First full day in South Korea. It is currently almost 10. First, we got to go back to Incheon to get my COVID tests. And then from there, I think we're going shopping first. And then after shopping, we're going to be going to Incheon to get my COVID test. And then from there, I believe we're going to be staying in Incheon for the day.
It all kind of got derailed at the end of the day, but here's how the day went. First, we went grocery shopping. Nothing huge, just bought some breakfast food and snacks for when we happened to be at the apartment. We went to a place that was about a 10-minute walk from the guest house called E-Mart. Their logo was a superhero, which I thought was kind of funny. But once everything was dropped off, we started to make our way back to Incheon Airport for my COVID test. At the time, or so we thought, it was required that everyone who flew in internationally receive a COVID test. We took a really roundabout way there and it was kind of janky, but we eventually made it there, only to find out within the last few days that they reversed the entire decision. So that was about a 2-hour trip back to Incheon for no reason. So at this point we started to make our way back to Mapo, but first we wanted to visit Korea's Chinatown and go to their fairy tale village. The entire place was really cute and there was a bunch of like really funny murals and shit. I had a great time.
Yo, Winnie the Pooh, Off-Brand Mufasa, and Simba, they're all on Noah's Ark. That's crazy. Glenn, that's crazy. Winnie the Pooh is on Noah's Ark.
We did some more exploring around the area, but with that was kind of like the end of our day. Day 2. We wake up today at 4 p.m. and walk about 10 minutes to get to a bus so that we can go to a really popular tourist destination in South Korea called the DMZ. It stands for Demilitarized Zone. It's kind of like no man's land between South Korea and North Korea. I had a really great time, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We arrived after riding on a bus for about an hour and a half, and it was really pretty. Going really early meant we got to see everything not only at dawn, but without too many people as well. There were a ton of art displays around and monuments with the history of discord between the countries, and it was super interesting to hear the history from a Korean perspective instead of just an American perspective. After that, we got onto the bus to see everything else that the DMZ had to offer, but unfortunately, this is where I had to stop recording. It wasn't really a national security threat, but it also kind of sort of was. So I'm just gonna draw an MS Paint. Once we got on the bus, we did a lot of other stuff, but there were really only 2 things that I felt like are at least a little notable. So I'll just start with the first one, and that's when we went to the observatory, right? Okay, those are supposed to be binoculars. Okay, I think this is
I think this is the best I'm gonna do. So this gives you nothing, so I'll try to explain it. So this was like a deck on the observatory that we went to, right? And this city right here, that is Pyongyang. It was kind of hard to see. It was really far away, even with the binoculars. It was super far away. It was hard to see. It was a really hilly area, so I drew a hill. Around this middle-ish area between Pyongyang and the mountains, there was this small village too. The tour guide was telling us it was uninhabited and that it was mostly used for propaganda purposes. That was pretty cool. So we spent a good like 15-ish minutes up here just listening to the tour guide, you know, looking around. It was really cool to see, but eventually we went back into the observatory, spent a bit of time there, then got back on the bus and went to the third tunnel. Okay, so I'm clearly not an artist, but I think this is decent enough. So the whole thing was really slim. It was really like claustrophobic. There was a lot of, you know, clearly water, mud, rocks, and it felt like this tunnel was going on for a really long time. I swear it was at least like half a mile that we could walk. There was a lot of points where we had to like duck and like walk on, like duck walk and shit, crouch down and just like toddle. It was really awkward, but it was really cool. It was really awesome. All right, and I think that's it. I'm just gonna continue staring at this picture. I think this is the best picture I've ever drawn. I mean that. Once we finished everything, we headed back to Seoul and like hung out a bit at the apartment for about an hour or two before going back out to have some dinner at the night markets. It was honestly a bit overwhelming. There was a lot of things going on, but there was a lot of good food to be had here. That night I had some tteokbokki and some beef dumplings, and honestly I had too much. I didn't want to not finish it because I was told that not finishing it was like disrespectful, and I didn't want to be disrespectful, and so I stuffed myself to shit, man. We ended our night by getting some drinks at a 7-Eleven, visiting a pretty cool cathedral. Oh Jesus, I almost missed that top step. And then heading back to the apartment in Mapo. Day 3. This is the day that we spent mostly visiting shrines and palaces in the Seoul area. To be exact, we visited 3. These are the names. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce them. I'm really sorry. The first one we went to was a pretty small shrine, and it was actually one of my favorites that I saw on the whole trip. It kind of sucks that it was the very first, but you know how that's how it goes. It was comparatively to the other palaces and shrines that we visited during that trip, pretty quiet, pretty quaint. There was a lot of walking space between different buildings, and it was pretty interesting to hear the history of what these buildings were, what they represented, what they were supposed to be there for. Next was our first palace, and this one was pretty big, and it was really like a maze. You know, we were walking around in this palace for what seemed like hours, but with every left turn there was something new, and it was just so fun. It was so fun to walk around in. And in the center there was this one big structure, and it just like it awed me. I have no other words for the experience that I had seeing it. It was just like exactly what I said earlier. It was kind of like a movie, but I was seeing this set in person, and I had no idea how to react, and I cannot put it in words. And the last palace that we visited was the main royal palace of the Joseon dynasty in Korea. This one was also huge, but in a different way than the last one. This one was it felt a lot more expansive. There was more space. Not to mention there was this huge staircase going up to this tower that you couldn't visit. It was blocked off, but it was still really cool to see. But after walking all day, we were pretty hungry, and so we made our way to North Seoul Tower to try some burgers. It was really pretty at night. Looking at the city after the sun had set was like amazing to see. But what was also amazing to see is this. Oh, sheesh. These nuts. Day 4. Today was pretty chill compared to the last few days. Glenn and I made our way to downtown Seoul to meet Sabrina in the Lotte World Mall. I think that's how it's pronounced. It was a really cool mall. It was fun to walk around in, even though Sabrina had told me that I was being loud as shit and people were just like staring at me. We walked around a bit. I wanted to get some shopping done. We got some clothes at an H&M, clothes that I'm actually wearing right now. I really love this fit, so I clearly have to bring those two with me all the time when I go shopping from now on until I die. Here's a cool picture of me standing next to a giant ass building outside the mall. Wow. The only other thing that I really remember from this night
were like eating McDonald's. I had this spicy chicken that just was not spicy. And I also remember like joking about making a national South Korean holiday about our vacation or something. I don't really remember. But that was really the end of our night. We just headed out. I don't remember recording anything. I don't remember anything happening. Clearly wasn't worth recording, obviously. Day 6. Day 5 clearly wasn't worth recording either, but day 6 is when we made it to Busan, South Korea. Originally, I wanted to come here a bit earlier to attend the Busan International Film Festival, but it really just didn't work out. When we arrived, it was night, so we basically just went to the hotel, dropped our shit off, and went to bed. But before that happened, we went to this Italian place, which is just around the corner from our hotel. It was actually really good. I had their spicy seafood pasta, which was really good. I finished it all. But this is also where I found out that South Koreans like do not fuck around with their spicy foods. So like, hell yeah, I finished it. It was really good, but fuck did my tongue burn for like the next 2 hours. Day 7. This day was our only full day in Busan, so we had to make the best of it. The first thing that we did was visit a cafe called Magnate. It's a spot owned by Jimin's father from BTS. Sabrina was super into it, and honestly, it was a pretty cool place. It was pretty chill. She said that she saw Jimin's dad in the back. I obviously can't call her out on that bluff, so I just kind of went with it. We were here for maybe under an hour, and then we headed out. We walked around for a while and kind of just got our asses lost. It was still really fun to like just walk around and see the place, but it was a good like hour and a half where we were just kind of walking in circles. But eventually we made our way to the Gamcheong Cultural Village. We ended up spending a few hours here, and it was really, really pretty. I said the palace from before was a maze. This literally, in like the literal sense, was a maze. There was a bunch of like pop-up places that we visited. I got a little Nick Wilde Lego set. And the last thing that we did for this day, or at least the last thing that I recorded, was visiting the Diamond Tower. It was really pretty at night, but we didn't go up to the top. I don't really like especially remember why, but I remember seeing construction, so I think that may have been why. But while we were here, we got some food, just chilled out for a bit, then went back to the hotel. What I didn't record after this was we went to this arcade and we just like fucked around for an hour or two. Day 8. Today I only recorded one thing, and that was us leaving our hotel in Busan. This was essentially our last day in South Korea, as when we got back to Seoul, we kind of just started packing for our trip to Japan. I really ended up enjoying my time in South Korea. I think the thing that I enjoyed the most was how far my dollar went. It was just crazy to do things that I feel like would break the bank here, but didn't even like leave a crack on the bank while we were there. But also, this was just like a huge city, and there was so much to do. There were even some things that we did on this trip that I never ended up recording, like how we went out to Hongdae one night and had a really good dinner with a friend that Sabrina and Glenn had met like partying the other night. I even met the mystical tree while I was here. That will leave an impression on me for life. Here's the thing, right? I don't know if I'm ever gonna go back to South Korea, but you know, the time that I had there was honestly really great. I have no objection to ever going back. It was a lot of fun. Day 10. Like I said before, today was essentially just a travel day. The only thing I ended up recording this day was our car ride to the Tokyo area from Narita, which is where we flew in from. This day we also met up with Alex and Hui, who were Glenn's friends. The four of us stayed up at the top floor at the house that we were staying at, and Sabrina stayed one floor down. That room was a fucking mess by the time that I left, but we fucked around up there a lot. It was a good time. Day 11. Today we made our way to the Tokyo Tower. First, we checked out the shops downstairs, and Sabrina geeked out over BTS merch. I think she ended up spending at least like $30 on just hairpins, but that wasn't the most that she spent on BTS merch while we were out there. I'm gonna keep that to myself. We made it to the top, and it was pretty cool. We looked around and pointed out some monuments that we recognized, or other places that we were gonna be going later this trip. After that, we made our way back down and got some food, and then we made our way to a different shrine. And here I actually participated in a traditional prayer. I ended up just attracting eyes because I was really anxious about accidentally making a mockery of their traditions. I think I did fine, but I was very I was just attracting eyes. We did some more exploring at this point, but it was kind of late, and we just made our way back to the house. Day 12. Today we made a beeline for downtown Tokyo and made our way to the fucking Pokemon Center. I was super fucking excited for this one, and it was so much fun. I was being a geek loser here. I had a great time. There was a whole room dedicated to Pokemon stuffed animals. I was literally in love. I left that day with a pair of Snorlax chopsticks, a pair of Dragonite earrings, some Pokemon cards with this fucking awesome full art holographic Lucario, and a Charizard plushie because I could not help myself. After that, we made our way to the Tokyo Imperial Palace, only to find that it had literally just closed like minutes before we got there. It really kind of bummed us out, but we just instead changed our plans to go to this one like art deco place called Team Labs Tokyo. I had maybe seen pictures of this place before, but I really did not know what to expect with it. My mind was fucking blown. It was really pretty, even though a lot of it wasn't picked up very well on my camera. I'm really sad about that. There was an incline with water flowing down from a small waterfall. There was a room filled with mid-calf level water that projected koi fish, and if you like walked up next to one of the koi fish that was being projected, it reacted. It was like it was real. There was also a room with hanging moss vines that slowly moved as you got closer to them. But I think my favorite room has to be this like mirror room with hanging LED lights. And these lights were like, they were doing light shows. It was amazing. The lights would slowly fade, and then it would just be like a pop of color, and it was like multiple colors, just like it was like everything was shimmering. I remember at one point we all just like laid down and just like stared at the ceiling while all these colors were going off. It was like we were high, but we were sober. I got some really good pictures here. I really enjoyed the pictures that I got, but I think my favorite has to be this one of me in the hanging moss room. I really just I like this picture. I like it a lot. Day 13. Today was the day that we made our way to Osaka. We nearly missed our train too. Like it started going right when we got on. Like we didn't even get time to sit down before that train was starting to go. It was some error with the tickets that we bought. I don't remember, but I remember being scared out of my mind. Eventually though, we got there and we got to our Airbnb. And this Airbnb was so fucking nice. I really wish our place in Tokyo was this nice, honestly. Even though we didn't really spend a lot of time here, this living room was so spacious and comfortable. I remember nights where we would all just like have a drink and we watched the new Pretty Little Liars series and we were just like ripping it apart. Those nights were great. That's one of the things I'll treasure from this trip, honestly. And I mean that. And that's all we really did for this day. It was just a travel day. But we did eat at this nice place down the road. I think I ate like 6 bowls of white rice, just white rice. I was kind of a white rice monster while we were on this trip. Day 14. Today was another shrine palace kind of day. First, we visited another shrine, and this one was pretty big, but it was also really pretty. They all were kind of pretty, but hey, I gotta describe it somehow. There was a lot of space and a lot of things to look at, and also there just weren't a ton of people here, so we got a lot of our own free time to like look around and see what was being offered, you know. But because there weren't a lot of people, we ended up clearing this place really fast. They collected a few rocks. There was this small little like rock game that you can play. They collected a few of those, and at that point, we headed out. We were on our way to the Osaka Imperial Palace when we kind of got hit with this field, and there is this small little grocery store on the side. We thought, why not? We just took a little break. It was a fun little break, but after that, we made our way to the Osaka Imperial Palace. We spent at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours looking around this place, and I guarantee we missed a few things. It was really cool, but after this, we went to go get food, but we started to hear some, like, music. So we walked over and found out that they were doing this independent rock concert for the equivalent of like $10 US. Everyone wanted to go, and I thought, yeah, sure, why not? It'll probably be like, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours. They had a really good time. But to be honest, I didn't. I was hungry, I was starting to get cold, and I really just didn't enjoy the music that was being played. So my eyes were just glued on the clock. They were just glued on the clock, and that was, I think, a 3 to 3.5 hour concert. There were nine different groups, so it wasn't gonna be an hour and a half. That night the food was good, at least. Day 15. Today was the day that I was looking forward to this whole trip. I was itching for this moment, waiting for the time I got to see the sign, and we finally made it. We made it to the bathroom. I don't I don't remember using the bathroom. Okay, we actually made it to Universal Studios Osaka. The first thing we did was go to the Hogwarts section and looked around the place. We ate at this one spot and it was decent enough food. I don't remember. I thought it was gonna be bad, but it was fine. We also went to this wand shop and looked around at wands, but they were crazy expensive. I'm talking like $60 US for a non-interactable wand. It was insane. We went on this ride inside of Hogwarts too, and funny enough, it like broke down midway through. So it ended up, you know, continuing on a few minutes later. But for a good solid like 3 minutes, Sabrina and I were just like in the air. After that, we headed to Jaws, which I didn't even see on the first time coming in, and this was a huge throwback. It played exactly how I remembered it when we went to the Jaws ride in Orlando, and again, I was right next to the shark. Like, right next to the shark. We did a lot of walking around after that. You know, there was this water show that was going on at the other end of the park in a section for Waterworld, like the Kevin Costner movie. It was a weird choice, but whatever. After that, we made our way to the Despicable Me ride, and this one kind of sucked. This is the one that we were waiting in line for the most. I think this was like a 30 to 40 minute wait. And it wasn't even really like a ride per se. The others haven't really been a ride either, but at least I was like, I don't know, having fun. This one was kind of just like a projected screen, and the cart like shook a bit, and it was just like, oh, whatever. I'm not really into this. It's probably why I didn't enjoy it. But finally, at this point, we got to the thing that I was literally excited to go to the Universal Studios for. This was Super Nintendo World. This was really overhyped. I think I was too excited. I just got too excited for myself to go, and it ended up not being exactly what I wanted out of it. I got one of those like wristband things that you can like hit coins with and shit. That was fun, but you had to wait in line for like 5 minutes just to get to a box, and there was a possibility that you finally got there, you hit it, and you got no coins. It was the worst feeling to like wait for so long, hit it, and then just like nothing. You waited for nothing. That shit sucked. After that, we headed over to the Mario Kart ride, and this one was like an hour-ish long wait. And honestly, it wasn't even that great of a ride either. They used these like AR goggles, so you kind of have to look through the glasses that they give you, right? But they don't go over your eyes. They're kind of in this spot where you have to like look up a little bit with your eyes to see through it. So what I ended up doing was like a Kubrick stare the entire time of me just like mouth open, just trying to pay attention to everything going on, like, oh, fuck. After the Mario Kart trip, we walked into the gift shop. I thought maybe there would be something here that I want, but honestly, there was nothing. A lot of it was, again, overpriced, and it all kind of just looked like cheap shit. And so leaving Super Nintendo World and leaving Universal Studios was a little sour at the end, but honestly, I had a great time that day. Yeah, I just kind of wish that I didn't overhype the Super Nintendo World. I think my night would have been a lot better had I not gotten myself excited for that. The last thing that we did today was visit another Team Labs location, this time in Osaka. What was cool about this one is that it was all outdoors. So it was like you could walk around, and it was really nice. It was really nice out that night. But what kind of sucked was that we only had an hour to look around at everything because the location was gonna close. So we were rushing to get everything done, and when we left, it was just like, yeah, that was cool, but we really didn't get time to like really look at everything like we did in Tokyo. Day 16. Yesterday was our last day in Osaka, so we got all of our bags together and went to Kyoto, where we spent the entire day. Me and Sabrina stayed downstairs and had some Starbucks while the others went up to the top of the Kyoto Tower. And after that, we headed down to another shrine. I think this one was a Buddhist shrine. I didn't get a lot of recording from this day. There was a lot of prayer going on. I really did not want to be like intrusive or rude, so I just kind of put my camera away. This one was also a bit smaller, but I felt like there was a lot more attention to detail in this one. On the inside, there were these like huge prayer areas. It almost seemed like bigger on the inside. After that, we made our way to the Kyoto Imperial Palace. This one was also pretty cool. I think my favorite part about the Kyoto Imperial Palace has to be the gardens in the back. The gardens were really pretty. And there were swans, right? They were just chilling out. And I thought they were fake. I'm gonna be straight up. I thought I was looking at fake swans. And then at one point, one of them moved a wing, and I was like, holy shit, those are real. After that, we kind of just like walked around a bit. You know, we were just exploring the area. It was fun. There was one other thing that we did that I did not record. I kind of wish I did. Understandably, I don't think I could have. We went to a maid cafe. It sounds self-explanatory, but I'll just explain it. A maid cafe is a cafe in which maids serve you, and you kind of play the role as the quote-unquote master over them. Incredibly uncomfortable for like the first 20-30 minutes, but once we kind of like got into it, it just kind of became really funny. It was almost like a how did I end up here kind of scenario, and it lives on better in my mind than it lived when I was there in person. But that's a super funny memory. I'm gonna be telling that story forever. It was super funny. Day 17. Today we were finally back in Tokyo. The first thing that we tried to do this day was to visit the Imperial Palace again, but dude, it was closed again. I think we had a lot of bad luck, and honestly, the only bad luck that we had was directed only towards our visit to the Tokyo Imperial Palace. We walked around a bit towards the National Museum of Modern Art and, you know, looked through the Imperial Palace gardens, but this is where I stopped recording. I'm gonna be honest, I got fucking sick of it. And if I'm being honest again, we really didn't do all that much after I left. There were really only 2 things that I remember being notable. So, of course, like I said, we went to the National Museum of Modern Art in Tokyo. That was cool. I found out there that art museums aren't really my thing, and I don't remember if it was later that night or if it was the night afterwards. But we went to this small area in Tokyo called Akihabara. I jokingly called it the incel capital of the world, but it's kind of like the anime central of the world. We went to this like 7-story like multi-store place thing. There was a bunch of like figurines that were going for like hundreds of dollars. There was also some more risque stuff. So yeah, this is kind of why I refer to it as the incel capital of the world. Not to mention there was like 7 maids walking around the area because there was just a shit ton of maid cafes here. And that was really my trip. Yeah, I woke up at 7 a.m. in Japan. I made my way down to Narita. I had a 2-hour flight back to Incheon. I had a 5-hour layover before going back on a plane to LAX. That was about 9.5 hours, so I'm very thankful that I knocked off a few hours. And I finally got back home in LA before I recorded one last thing.
Alright. I'm back home. It only took 23 hours. But that was it. That was my trip to South Korea and Japan. It was pretty fun. By the end of it, I was pretty sick of it. I wanted to go home. But to be perfectly honest, I'm extremely tired. I'm gonna eat an edible. I'm gonna order some food. And then I'm probably gonna go to bed. And I'm gonna sleep for like 14 hours. I've been awake for like however many hours. I woke up at 7 a.m. in Japan. It's like 10 o'clock in Japan right now. It's nearly 10 o'clock. So I've been awake for like 27 hours. I feel like shit. So yeah, that's gonna be it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.